All right, the council meeting of May 5th, 2020 is now called to order. Whose turn for the Pledge of Allegiance? Is it Eric?
Yay.
Yep.
Okay, Eric.
Are we standing up?
Yep.
That was comfortable. Pledge of allegiance. To the
Flag.
flag
Of the United States of America,
America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thanks, Eric. How about Donna? You got a roll call?
I'll do the roll call, Mr. Mayor.
Okay,
Mayor Dorsey,
here.
Deputy Mayor Peterson, Councilmember Anisco,
Here.
Councilmember Schmidt,
Here.
Councilmember Feiss.
Here.
Councilmember McDowell.
Here.
All right, we're all here.
All right. Does the council have?
Councilmember Bode, I'm sorry. I'm
And
reading it.
here.
Yeah,
He is
I'm
here. All
I'm
right.
going off. the screen.
Indeed.
Apologize.
Does the council have any changes for the agenda tonight?
You can speak.
If not, I think Mr. Knighton does.
I have a couple, Mr. Mayor, and I'll run through those real quick. Initially, we advertised a couple of the items on our agenda because the stay home, stay healthy order was initially supposed to be lifted yesterday. But as we all know, the governor extended that order through May 31st. And several of the items on our agenda under the governor's order should not be considered while we are conducting meetings electronically, and we are not making it, we're making it available, but it's definitely not as easy as it has been to communicate any comments or concerns to council on these issues. So with that, there are two items that I would like to remove tonight and set for a date certain of June 2nd, which is a day after this most recent order is supposed to be ended. And we'll find out what happens at that time, whether we need to extend again or if the order is going to be extended again based on the number of cases we see in the community and throughout the state. Those two items are the single room occupancy ordinance. That's item C1 on your agenda. And the second item is the updating of city policies, Secretary of State, the record keeping and those kind of things. We'd like to set date certain both of those items for June 2nd. If council's comfortable with that. And
We're moving the public hearing. Public hearing.
Single room occupancy ordinance is a public hearing, and that will be held on June 2nd with council's concurrence.
Okay.
The other two items we have on the agenda, one on business and one on action, are a purchase of a mower along with it's the mower and the boom to hold the mower attachment. We had that on action this evening, and purchase for rollers for the Public Works Department, and both of those, due to what we anticipate is going to be a very challenging budget for this year and into next year, we'd like to remove those both those items, both those purchases, with no date to bring back to you. That'll be subject to the budget constraints that we are potentially facing. So removal of those items means we have no action agenda for this evening and just one item on the business agenda.
Would the mayor entertain questions at this time regarding the agenda modifications?
Yes.
Jeff, just a quick question regarding, so I concur with the previously mentioned items, except for just a couple questions regarding the equipment purchases. Do those equipment purchases in fact create enough capital within the budget? Does that actually free up usable capital within the budget that we can then move towards general fund resources or other fund resources, or is it just simply, you know, we're just tightening the belt, if you will, for now until we know more later?
Well, a little bit of both of those things. So the tightening of the belt, we are not purchasing anything that we don't absolutely have to purchase at this point. We've been doing budget forecasts since this began and updating those regularly. And as we get more information and as we see how long this will potentially last, we don't want to spend any unnecessary dollars that we don't have to. Now, for the mower, what that's going to entail is it has significant hydraulic issues, and we'll have to repair those, but it certainly is well below the cost of a new mower, and or we may have to rent a mower for a short period of time. But all those expenses are well below what a purchase of a new mower would cost. It does free up capital, both those purchases together. The mower, I believe, was $174,000, and we had budgeted $200 for that. And the rollers, not sure at the moment what the budget number was, but the purchase price was about 70. So that does free up a significant amount of money to give us a little bit of flexibility as we look to address the issues caused by the COVID-19 pandemic.
I'll just add then, I appreciate being conscious of the situation and delaying these purchases. I do understand that these are necessary. They weren't put on the agenda. They weren't put in an action item because they were just at the end of a life cycle. They were an emergent need in a way. However, we do understand potentially what we're facing, and I appreciate some of the flexibility budget-wise, creating some flexibility budget-wise for us as we move forward through the crisis that we're currently dealing with. So thank you. No further questions.
All right. Should we move on to the consent agenda? Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I move that we accept the consent agenda.
Okay, there's a motion to approve the consent agenda as published
Second.
and a second. All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed? Motion carries. All right, so we'll go to the one business item that we have. The only, addressing the business agenda is an ordinance to update the non-represented salary schedule. Administrative Services Director, Michelle.
And Mr. Mayor, I'll go ahead and present this evening.
Okay, Mr. Knight will go ahead and present that.
Thank you very much. The council did consider the represented salary or non-represented, excuse me, salary schedule last year. And on this update, there are no changes to the schedule as approved by council last year. We did make a couple of administrative changes, and the major point of that is the current version of that says all newly hired non-represented employees, I'll get that right tonight at one point, shall come in no higher than step B, and we're changing that to allow non-represented employees to come in at any salary schedule with my approval. So it's not a hard and fast line. It just gives us a little bit more flexibility in recruiting. But the numbers that you saw last year when this was considered and approved by council are not changing at all. The other small change, as you all know, we had a slight reorganization in our police department where we had a captain's salary as part of that salary schedule. And all we did was remove that and add in a lieutenant, which matches up with what the reorganization did. So I'd be happy to answer any questions about this. And
I do.
Okay.
Could you explain to the citizens of Shelton what a non-representative salary is?
Sure. A non-represented salary is any employee that is not a member of a union. So okay. They are mostly folks here in the office, but some other positions like the police lieutenant I mentioned, and our superintendents in the public works department.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Joe?
Just one question, just refresh my memory. When we are budgeting for the non-represented positions, we budget for the top step, correct? So we have some growth wiggle room within the fiscal year, or do we budget for where they're at currently?
We budget for the top step.
Thank you.
All right. All right, can I ask for the first reading of the ordinance number 1951-0320?
Yes, can you hear me?
I got you.
Is that better?
You got a mouse in there?
Recommendation
Ordinance number
Recommendation.
1951-0320.
Donna, just
Donna.
say-
Mute your computer mic.
Yeah, mute your computer mic and you'll be good.
Okay, let's try again.
Better.
Ordinance number 1951-0320. An ordinance of the city of Shelton, Washington, ratifying existing employment positions and salary schedule.
All right, thank you, Donna. So staff recommends the council to concur to move this item to the action agenda for May 19th, 2020. All concur?
Yes.
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 Sure.
Sure.
So we're not going to do that.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
And that brings us down to administration reports.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, Deputy Mayor, members of council, and anybody watching at home. A couple things I wanted to mention. There's several things going on, as I'm sure you can imagine. But a couple of things I wanted to mention and call out specifically. Our homeless resource coordinator has been working very diligently with our community service providers and the MTA to set up a food distribution network so that we have those networks and those capabilities available to provide for and assist and contact and establish relationships with our unsheltered community. We have a campaign, information campaign and a hygiene products distribution set up through MTA, because what we found is ridership, according to the information that I have from our transit providers, is ridership is down significantly, but the only people that are still riding that transit are members of our unsheltered community. So we found that to be the most efficient and effective way to get hygiene products, small bottles of hand sanitizer, those things, those types of things out to that community to at least afford some member of or some measure of protection. The other thing that we're doing at the moment is, and you may have seen this, we are running a campaign to update our business contact info with MACECOM, so that if something happens in the middle of the night, or an alarm goes off, or a car hits a building or something like that, we can contact the owner and make sure that that person is notified right away, so that we minimize, at least to the extent possible, any loss that that business owner may see as a result of whatever action is taken. So we're trying to get that updated. We're taking advantage of a little bit of time to do that. You may have seen, unfortunately, last night that the Forest Festival, the folks that put on the Forest Festival as part of our community, hugely important event for our community, have decided to cancel for this year. And while I understand it, it's still upsetting because that's such a terrific event and brings so many people to our community and see what we have and what we're able to provide and how great a community this is. But it is understandable, although disappointing. And then lastly, last Saturday, I believe on the 2nd, we in the service center, or in the civic center, did cold air fogging sanitizing. So the entire building, police department, court, Everything upstairs here in the Civic Center was sanitized through a process. Cold air fogging is very similar to the old bug bombs, if you remember those, except it's not toxic to anything. Although I did have to wash my coffee cup out, but it's effective, and we want to make sure we're able to protect our employees when they are able to come back to work here in the Civic Center. We have a protocol in place established to do that when they do come back. Masks for everybody when they're outside their workspace, and several other measures that I believe I sent you all the memo. But I'll be updating you probably every Friday on operational issues that we see here at the city, and things that we are planning on and thinking about as we get ready to reopen. There's a lot of resources available to municipalities through different organizations to tell us how to go about safely doing that. And we're going to take the best practices that we've seen from other places and implement those here to make sure our employees are as safe as they possibly can be while we're serving the citizens of Shelton. That's pretty much all I have. I would be happy to answer any questions.
I've got a question. I understand that we've got a lot of work to do, on reopening across the board, especially, not only communicating with our citizens, but also communicating with our business community as well, and making sure that they're also supported along the way. And so would love to hear more about how we've been involved with some of those efforts and some of the funding also that's been available to our small business community.
Yeah, I have been in contact with the Economic Development Corporation and the Chamber of Commerce about those programs, and figuring out how we can help the EDC establish something like the Thirst and Strong campaign. Those plans are coming together. But at the moment, EDC has been very focused, as they should be, on those emergency loans to small businesses. And I'm very happy to be able to work with them and provide the assistance that we have to the small business community. But longer term strategy, we are looking to see what is going to be available from the state. I will be updating you probably next week on our budget concerns, which was part of the briefing, or not the briefing, the agenda items we had tonight for those two purchases that we're putting off. We're going to have significant challenges here in the city, and we will be communicating that as soon as we have a firm direction about where we want to go. But I'll be sharing all those numbers and information with each of you individually during your briefings next week, and what we expect to see. It's pretty sobering. So those are the things that are happening here, but it's definitely important to us that the small business community survives and is able to thrive in the coming years. And setting the groundwork for that is going to take a concerted effort among all of our partners, from the EDC to the Chamber to the Public Utility District and the county, and everybody else involved. And it's going to take all of us pulling together as one. Those discussions are happening, and I don't have any firm commitments to roll out to you yet.
Thank you for that. And, with all challenging times comes great opportunity as well, and also innovation and how we operate and think about how we serve our communities. So just again, thanks for all of your work, and everyone that also is sitting here, and all of our community members. We've got a lot of pride to continue to roll with. So even though we've got to not have Forest Festival this year, let's make it better next year. So
There you go.
It's
Truth, right? Exactly.
It's not how many times you get knocked down, it's how many you get back up.
That's right.
We will get back up.
That's right. Exactly.
All right, is there anything else from anybody? If not, our next meeting will be Tuesday, May 19th, 6 o'clock. This meeting is adjourned.
Thanks, everyone.